Welcome everyone to another special edition of Cuentos Comics. Today, I have a special guest, Peter Mellini. I'm rocking my Gordo green, so I'm going to introduce him shortly. Once again, Bobby Hernandez, co-director of the Latino Comics Expo, creator of the up-and-coming Millennials comic book. Let's bring on Peter. So
Hey,
with us, hey, there he is.
there you go.
With us is Peter J. Mellini. Again, he's a creator of the Gordo, the Teenage Flying Saucer, which has a Kickstarter, which has a live Kickstarter at the moment right now. Along with that, Peter he's the owner of Nostalgia Comics, right?
Yep.
I
Thank
believe
you.
it's in on this
Thank you.
time. Yeah, in San Guerrero, California. And you're also the co-founder and creator. Well, not the founder and creative director of East LA Cape, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Awesome. So it's lots to talk about, but let's get right to it. You have a wonderful creation with Gordo, the Teenage Flying Saucer. For those that may not be familiar with Gordo, tell us about some of his previous adventures, and then tell us about the Kickstarter.
Oh, for sure. So in 2019, was the last East LA Cape. We launched the first issue of Gordo the Teenage Flying Saucer. It's a book that me and my friend Miguel Acero and I have been writing for a while. Um, we actually met Ontiveros, the artist, at Cape the previous year. And it's cool. Basically it was originally an adaptation of an old '60s comic by C.C. Beck and Otto Binder. It's become public domain. Like the company doesn't exist anymore, and it's such a weird idea that we were like playing around with it, and over time it's become more of like that book was an inspiration. That's an adaptation. It's like it's completely different now. But yeah, it tells a story about a 13-year-old kid who lives with his mom in a desert city, um, and he has the powers of a flying saucer, and he fights aliens and freaking shadow governments, and it's an all ages book, and it's very like it's a sci-fi adventure book,
So so right now you've been writing the book. You
Mhm.
mentioned that you guys kind of started back in 2019. What's going on right now? Where is this the second issue? Is this the first
Yeah,
issue? What's the deal with that?
yeah. So like I said, we released issue one in 2019. And we've been working this whole time, right after, literally we had the Cape in May of 2019, and then the plan was to do one by the end of the year, and that's when all the pandemics started happening, and so it kind of derailed a lot of stuff. But this Kickstarter is for issue two, but it's also included is an extended version of issue one.
Okay.
We got it relettered. It's a brand new cover. And on top of that, like we got because when we did issue one and right before Cape, it was a little rushed, and so we kind of had to cut some stuff. And luckily, this time around, we got to put it back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me, like, I'm always fascinated about the behind the scenes stuff, like the
Mhm.
collaboration. So tell us about who's collaborating with you on this project. What are the artists? Any advisors that are kind of like who makes up the team of this beautiful book that you have on Kickstarter going on right
Yeah.
now?
Well, like I said, like my friend Miguel Acero, he's a screenwriting professor at Cal State LA, and we've been working together on this for like a while, like a couple of years now. And so we co-wrote the thing. We actually during the pandemic we wrote like 5 issues of this thing. So like that's the plan. Is the first storyline is gonna be like 5 issues. And like I said, we met Valeria Antaveros at the 2018 Cape, and we got together. We got along really well, and and she really she made this project a lot cooler because she's done. Now she doesn't just draw the thing, but she like designed everything, like all the characters. Like our main character, we had an idea of what he looked like,
Okay.
and she made him way cooler. Because originally, like I always trip out. Like she made this really designed mask that he wears, like a Lucifer mask.
Oh yeah, you have a picture on it. People should check out your social media. I think you
Yeah.
have a picture of it, right?
Yeah, we actually had them made a couple years ago, like just for fun. Um, but originally, he just had a gray luchador mask with white eyes because we thought it would look cool, like an alien.
Yeah,
And, and she was like, "That's too simple." And she made this. She made a bunch of designs and and then she made him look way cooler. But yeah, we've been working with her since 2000, early 2000, late 2018, and we're getting we're playing catch up now. Like now we're doing issue two. It's really cool because we're reissuing issue one, and we have a variant cover for that by Jay Gondo.
oh, awesome. Hey man, I
Yeah.
love Jay. He's always
Yeah.
doing some good stuff.
And then issue two has a variant cover by Rafael Navarro.
Oh, Raf, who's celebrating he's on his 25th anniversary tour right now
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of Sonabulo. So
hmm hmm
awesome.
And so it was really cool. And like I said, we had all this time to prepare because we were all stuck at home in 2020, and so we had some like really cool like I don't know if people do this, but like on our Kickstarter we have a bunch of stickers, but they're all designed by like other artists. Like so we have Candy Briones did one, Crystal Gonzalez did one, my friend Tara O'Connor did one. So they're design stickers, yeah.
That's awesome. And then you're mentioning some very familiar names:
Yeah.
Candy, Crystal, amazing artists. So yeah, I think that you have a great character with Gordo. You mentioned that you guys have about kind of 5 issues planned.
hmm
How is the Kickstarter doing? I know you guys are so close.
Yeah.
So like, what can people expect for those who decide to back the project and get it over the edge, right?
hmm
What are some of the rewards that kind of some backers can expect?
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, so we have, like I said, like we have variant covers for both issue one and two.
Hmm.
We have stickers. We have like a mini print set, which is just like the covers without the logos. And then we have like acrylic pins. We have a glow in the dark sticker with a logo. And a big thing is that we have a Kickstarter exclusive blind variants.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're gonna have those. You could just get them just a blank variant, but we have tiers where you can get like remarks or full drawings, limited color drawings on them by our artist Valeria Antiveros. And on top of that, we have during October, she did the whole Inktober thing,
Yeah.
and so she did team ups with like Gordo and all these like different characters, just for fun. And so those are actually available on one of the tiers.
Excellent. I'll definitely share the link right now we're on Facebook. We're on my personal page, the Cuentos y Comics page. We're on YouTube, so I'll
Oh,
definitely add those links.
oh,
Uh,
cool.
yeah, at the end of the
Oh,
recording. But man, I see. Where are you now? Are you at your shop right now?
yeah, yeah. I'm in the store right now.
Awesome. So for those, as I mentioned earlier, Peter, he's the owner and operator of Nostalgia Comics in San Gabriel, California. California. You've shared some interesting
Yeah.
stories, but I think you are you have broken the Quintus Comics cherry. You are the
Uh,
first comic shop owner.
oh, nice.
So yeah, so I'd love to pick your brain and kind of like
hmm
ask you about, not only are you a comic book shop owner, but you're a Latino comic book shop owner.
hmm
So
Yeah, yeah.
how is it? How is San Gabriel? How is the comics market? Like, tell us about the comics world as a comic shop owner.
No, for sure, man. Like it's funny. Like I've wanted to own a comic book store since like the fourth grade.
Man,
Um, Mom actually has a thing. I gotta find it, and it literally was like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "Own a comic book store."
living the dream.
Yeah. And I kind of just stumbled in on this. I worked at stores. I worked at a store in college, and then that closed down, and I went and tried to get a real job, right? And I did that for a little while, and it just kind of wasn't my thing. And then I always tell the story how like I was gonna work at his office, and I signed up to be full time and all that, and then they laid me off a week before Christmas. And I was like, you know what? If this could keep happening, I might as well just do my own thing. And I just kind of stumbled onto this. Like I met a guy who owned a store, and he needed someone to run it for him. I did that for like a year and a half, about, and then he just kind of got tired of it. And he told me, like, I'm closing the store. And at the time, I had some money saved up, and I was like, "How much do you want for it?" Like I want to own a store. So I took it over, and that was about 10 years ago.
Wow.
And been doing it ever since. Yeah.
So now is your 10th anniversary coming up this week before Christmas? Is it going to be your anniversary?
No. I think it was like in. It was in September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just, and then like last year around this time we had to move because our building got sold. It was like a whole thing. And so yeah, it's been an up and down year. It's been crazy. Like luckily, like a majority of the people followed us over. And so, and then we're more on a main street now, so it kind of helps a little more.
Good.
But the thing is, like, this store is like 3 times bigger than my old store, so it's a lot of work, man.
Oh, I'm sure. A lot more inventory, a lot more space, a lot more cleaning up.
So it's just constant, like trying to figure. Because the thing, like, our problem before was like not having enough space. Now sometimes I feel like we have too much space, but I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no, it is a good problem to have, and it's like, yeah, more room for like people to come into the shop, peruse some books, and hopefully take some home, and but by paying them first. You've had some, like, I follow you on social media. You've had some of the most interesting interactions with, like, just like these random, like, should we say customers or guests, people walking into the shop. You should have your own series, like, But tell us about the latest interesting interaction.
Something I want to do that, but I would get concerned that like either people won't believe it, or people are gonna figure out, oh, he's talking about me, right?
Oh man,
but
that's funny.
it's crazy. Like, so, like in the whole 10 years that I've been doing this, we recently, about a couple months ago, had our first like shoplifter.
Oh, okay.
And that was crazy, man. I didn't know what to do, and it's even crazier now because like we're literally down the street from the police station.
Wow, it's always the smart ones, right?
Yeah, right.
That's so funny.
It was just crazy, because literally, like, on the side of the building where we're at now, there's an alley that goes right into the police station parking lot.
Wow.
So we have police constantly coming by, right?
That's so funny.
But yeah, no, we had a shoplifter, and it was crazy because this kid, like, I don't know, man, he got real bold, and then he just tried to grab some stuff, and then I followed him out, and then he just got in the car, and his mom was like, he didn't take anything, and he's like just sitting there with all this stuff.
Oh no.
Yeah. I was like surprised. I was like, really? We're doing this?
I must ask. I mean, did you recover the books?
Yeah.
What was?
Well, I tell you, because we have the police parking lot like right here.
Yeah.
So actually, a cop pulled up and he saw us arguing, and he basically he said, look, he told the mom, he's like, look, you could either give it back, or you can pay for it, and then like he can't press charges, right? And I was just like, I just want it back. Like, I don't want to like cause any problems,
What was the biggest haul? Like what book was in that stack? That kid.
He had the Last Ronin, the Ninja Turtle, the hardcover.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, what did he have, like the issue, or like the graphic novel?
The graphic novel, the hardcover graphic
Oh
novel.
my goodness! Wow.
Yeah, that was wild, man. That was wild.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I mean, hey, hopefully thankfully you got the books back. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
I have good faith in the San Gabriel residents and other nearby areas. So you should be in good hands. You should be in good hands.
Hopefully.
Another thing, it's like, so I've had last week I had Javier, right, the co-founder of Latino Comics Expo, real good friend of ours.
Yeah.
I've had Ricardo Padilla, the other co-founder. I have had Teresa Rojas, Hector Rodriguez in previous episodes. But I named these people, right? But
Hmm.
the one special thing about like kind of like I'm not name dropping, but what I'm trying to get to is like you yourself are another like showrunner of like a pretty cool comics
Oh, that's
comic
right.
comic book expo. So
Hmm.
tell me about Cape, if it's okay, if you could kind of like elaborate, because I know it started as one thing, it
Hmm.
became Cape. Tell me a brief, share with us a brief
Yeah.
history of
So,
of Cape, and then
yeah.
when will it return? I know people have been asking.
Yeah. We're working
So
on that. We're working on that. So yeah, so like basically, like I said, like I bought the store about 10 years ago. So about 5 years ago, I finally paid it off. So it was like done. Store was mine, and I was kind of like, now what? You know, because like a lot of my friends and my girlfriend says I like to make my life more difficult, right? So I had a group of friends, and we've been talking about forever about how like growing up, there was never we all grew up in East LA, and there was never any comic book shows in East LA. Like we always had to go to like Pasadena or down. I used to go. That was crazy. I used to go to this place near the airport because it was like it was the closest place you can go to. And so we'd always talked about hosting some kind of like comic book expo in East LA, and then it became like a question of like, well, where we're gonna have it, and it was very important that it was in East LA, and that made it difficult right away because there's not a lot of big spaces in East LA, and so we looked around, and so then and we just announced it. We're saying like, oh, I don't think we had a space yet. We just said like, oh, we're doing this, it's coming soon, right?
yeah, yeah,
And then we ended up finding this space that at the time I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, because it's an old mortuary that they turned into like an event space. So they have like weddings and quinceañeras and stuff like that there. And they were willing to work with us. So we're like, cool. And then the thing was like, in my head, so we just announced it. We got a lot of buzz real quick. And originally it was called the East LA Comic Con because I just figured like that's what you call these things, right? And so we called it East LA Comic Con, and it got a lot of buzz. We got a lot of like press early on, which was crazy. And then we had like the Outrage Network reach out to us. Like that was a plan for us. We were all fans of that company. We were like oh yeah, like 2 or 3 years, we'll reach out to them. And then they reached out to us the first year, and we're like, oh crap, right?
that's so cool.
And so yeah, so it blew up, and it was real big. And then we had a lot of fun, and we had a lot of artists. And so we were just like, we have to expand it. So the following year, we expanded into like there was a parking lot like nearby, and so we expanded, like we had an outdoor area, and we were in the middle of planning that, and that's when all those Comic Con lawsuits started happening.
That's right. So Comic Con began. They put a like cease and desist to all these shows that use the name Comic Con. Okay.
Yeah. So at that point, they hadn't reached out to us yet. They hadn't said anything yet. But I was like, you know what? No, we gotta like just get ahead of it, right? And so we talked about different names and different trying to come up with different things. And the thing too was that like I remember like even then like I felt like Comic Con didn't really work for us anymore because it was like we had a lot of artists, but we also had a lot of like not just comic book artists. We had a lot of like like the traditional artists and people making clothes, people make and so we're like, oh, we gotta switch it up, and so we ended up calling it Cape because it was like comic book art and pop culture expo. So
Sh-
basically, it's just a cool like umbrella term just to cover everything.
yeah, an acronym. Yeah, an acronym
Yeah.
for.
And so we ended up So we used the name Cape like twice before the pandemic hit, and yeah, we had two shows with that, and it was real cool.
Any plans on bringing it back? What's the
Yeah.
status of East LA Cape?
Oh man. So it's funny. Like we were in the middle of doing a 2020 show. Like we were planning it. It was everything, and then pandemic hit, and even then, like I knew back then, I didn't want to postpone it. I was like, we're just gonna cancel it, and when it's better, when it's safer, we're gonna like bring it back. and it took a lot longer than I thought.
It's
uh,
not easy, man. As a
no,
fellow showrunner, yeah, it's oh my gosh, it is. I think if anybody could do it, more people would do them, right?
exactly. No, and so we've been working on it behind the scenes, and we're looking at like getting a new venue. Like management switched up at their old venue, so I don't know. Like it doesn't. I don't think I don't feel like we can go back there, just because I think they're not interested. But we'll see. But we're working on it, and we're hoping for next year. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah.
So
So
sometime in 2023, I know you guys normally did like around May or like
yeah,
summertime, right? Is that
yeah.
what you're doing as well?
Hopefully, I mean, it all depends on if we can find a secure venue and and really. I know people are itching for it. Like like we were at Latino Expo and like it was cool because it felt like a high school reunion. Like I hadn't seen these people like in 2 3 years, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And we got a lot of questions asking about Cave, and I was like, working on it.
Well, that's right. So you and I, yeah. So you and I, we saw each other earlier this year,
Mhm.
back in April, at the 10th anniversary of the Latino Comics Expo.
Yeah,
It would no, it did feel like a family, like yeah, like a high school reunion or
yeah,
family reunion. Just because like every week, we brought everybody together after the pandemic. But it
yeah.
was it was scary times, man. It was scary times. I think we had to again, like in 2020, we had to do the virtual show.
Mhm.
We're planning for a fall in 2021, and then same thing, like another wave came,
Yeah,
and then so we had to postpone that for the spring. But yeah, it was definitely a good time. I think that everyone's itching to get back.
yeah.
Yeah, everyone should definitely stay tuned for for in person another
No,
in-person Latino Comics Expo.
yeah, no, actually, like we had been talking about it, but like it wasn't until like we went to Comic Expo, we're like, we gotta bring this back. Like,
Because people are itching for it. Like it's and also there's a whole generation of young people, like meaning like let's say like high schoolers
mhm.
that just never got to really go out and hang out and
Yeah.
experience all these like in-person stuff with their high school friends. And so you did see quite a few young people.
Mhm.
But I know like this year, outdoor events, whether it's like festivals or music festivals, whatever, like it just like you're noticing all these young people coming out because hey, they want to experience life too.
Yeah, no, definitely,
And then
definitely.
I know East LA has a very young population.
Oh yeah.
It'll
Uh,
be
it-
awesome.
See that thing that's another thing they came out of Cape. They were surprisingly like the amount of people that were excited for like pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
Like I mean I knew it existed, but I didn't think it was that big.
Nah, hey man, Latinos, we're a huge market, and I think that like we really like when we like something, we support it. And
Hmm.
so yeah, man, you saw we've experienced that support. You've seen it when you've
Hmm.
had your shows.
Yeah.
Uh, but speaking of pop culture,
Mhm.
what are you reading? What are you watching?
Oh man,
What are you
that's a
doing?
that's a loaded question.
All right, so let's narrow it down. What have you seen? And I had this conversation in our previous episode. What are you watch? Are you watch like? Are you watching Wednesday on Netflix? Are you
I,
watching
I've only,
any?
yeah, I gotta catch up on that. I'm only 2 episodes in on that.
Okay,
But I like it. It's fun, man. Like it doesn't feel like a Tim Burton project, which is crazy. Like it's I don't know. I guess brighter. you know?
yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like they're definitely using his name to promote the project.
Yeah.
I think he directed through like the first 2 to 4 episodes. I'm not quite sure,
But
but the production, yeah,
it's not what I expected at all. It feels very like X-Men. Like like it's like like there's a school with like and it's interesting.
yeah. And you know what? That's a pretty good analogy. Yeah, I think you have a mixture of like Hogwarts and like
Yeah.
the Xavier Academy or
Mhm.
whatever. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I think you bring up a great point. But I love and I love how like the showrunners or like the executive producers, they're the ones who had they're the ones who gave Superman that teen angst back in the
Yeah.
day uh,
Yeah.
with
So
Smallville. And so those guys are involved here with MGM Television, and it's a pretty interesting take. It's a pretty interesting
Yeah,
take.
especially
And
because when they announced this a while ago, and like it's not what I expected at all, man. Like
but so it's not what you expected at all, in a good way or in a bad way.
no, it's good. I like it. I'm enjoying it. I gotta find the time to sit down and just blow through them.
No, yeah, no, I get you. I had to do it. I had to like I really had to dedicate time to do that, but I was lucky enough to be able to. But so okay, Wednesday, what else are you watching?
What's am I watching? What's I actually rewatched The Guardians recently because the holiday special was a lot of fun, and then they dropped the trailer for part three, which somehow looks sadder than the Black Panther, the Wakanda Forever.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But the holiday special, I think I have my new favorite Christmas song. You know,
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. That
yeah,
is a jam.
that's
That
a
that's a jam.
good song.
They're called. What are they called? The band is called the old 97s.
Oh, you said oh yeah.
The old 97. So that's definitely on my playlist this holiday season. But look, one thing I mentioned last time with in my previous interview with Javier, I mentioned something in regards to are we entering the new, the era of the Latino protagonists? And so, like, we have Jenna Ortega starring as Wednesday. We have
Mhm.
Tenoch Huerta and Wakanda Forever as Namor. We have Diego Luna as Andor, as Cassian Andor, right?
Mhm.
Uh, with Sholo Maridueña, and it goes on and on.
Yeah,
He's gonna star in the
Blue Beetle.
WB's Blue Beetle, DC's Blue Beetle. So,
Yeah.
what's your take? I mean, I'd love to hear your perspective. I'd love to hear your opinion.
Mhm.
Uh, are we? What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
And what's really going on?
it feels like it, right? And the Namor thing was crazy because I remember when they first announced it, when we first got a first look at it. I remember I joked around with Javier about this. I was like, people were upset, and I'm like, who's a Namor fan for this? like where all these Namor fans come from?
That's so funny.
And I think that was crazy because like technically he's the villain, right? But like just like the first Black Panther, you realize like yeah, like he's the bad guy, but like he makes sense. Like you kind of like understand where he's coming from, and you understand like yeah, he's taking it to extremes, but it's like this is the he's got the right idea more or less.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point in the sense that like Ryan Coogler is able to kind of like nitpick these
Hmm.
uh these characters from the comics,
Yeah,
place them as antagonists, but make the audience understand their point of view, right? It's not just the black and white, good versus evil, but there's really a purpose and a reason
yeah.
behind uh the method, right? The end goal of this character. I
Hmm.
think I was asked once, um, like I guess take the five original Avengers, right?
Hmm.
And instead of having Captain America, or just take the original Avengers and remove one and replace a character from the comics that really like would really elevate the team, who would that be? At the time back then, I mentioned Namor
Hmm.
because Namor is a nostalgic character similar to Captain America,
Yeah,
a fish out of water, a man out of time,
yeah.
or
Literally.
and he's as strong as the Hulk.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then I remember having the conversation, I believe, with Javier back in the day
Mhm.
about Atuma. I'm like, man, Atuma, that he comes off as like a Mesoamerican character, and so I love what they've done. They've really made Namor stand out in an
Mhm.
era where you have Jason Momoa starring as Aquaman. How do you
Yeah.
make a character that's similar, so distinct?
Yeah.
And I think they've done a phenomenal job, and
Yeah.
I
And
I must salute, right? I must salute.
but I also love the fact that like they kept a lot of his character stuff, like the little wings. Like you would think that that wouldn't work, but it looked cool. You know what I mean? And then the fact that I don't know if it's a spoiler, but like the fact that his weakness is you dry him out and he like he gets weak. Like that's very comic book. That's very like straight out of the comic book, and it's cool that they actually kept that in there and they made it work. You know?
Yeah, there. I don't know if I don't know if we can get into it, but there are some very harsh criticisms
Hmm.
in regards to that. But I think that people are being too critical and too sensitive
Yeah,
uh, in regards to that. I'm not going to say the term, but but there is a term that that there are some critics that like, hey, like they've personified that term in this character, and I
yeah,
think it's far from the truth. I think that, yeah, like you mentioned, it was a creative way to kind of like for a character like Shuri to defeat
yeah,
him. But
yeah,
moving forward, though, in the MCU and in the cinematic universe, how will he adapt, and how
yeah.
will he how like overcome to not be defeated not so easily, because he did a lot of damage in the film,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
He did a lot
no,
of damage, but how is he gonna overcome and kind of like surpass that?
yeah. I mean, like to me, the thing I always loved about Namor was that he was on the original Defenders, and that was the weirdest team ever. Like it's like him and Hulk and Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange. I just think it's really interesting that we're like one character away from that team. You know, like they haven't
Silver
introduced.
Surfer, Silver
Yeah,
Surfer, yeah.
soon they introduce them, like I want to see some kind of like Defenders. You know, like
Yeah, and I like maybe they'll call it the Order or something. Like
yeah,
look at us fan casting or whatever. But I think that you wouldn't want man, I'm blanking here. Give me a second. Well, like there's Hellcat
yeah.
and Nighthawk,
Hmm.
but there was a great interpretation of Nighthawk recently. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm blanking, but yeah, there was a great interpretation of Nighthawk. Um, yeah, that it'd be cool, but not. But there you have a very a very strong set of characters
Yeah.
now. Like, the way they're being interpreted nowadays.
Oh yeah, and I think the thing I always love about that team was because they're all like different. They have their own different corners of the universe. You know, like and like it's a team doesn't like it shouldn't make sense, but it works. You know.
Yeah, no, yeah, because you have these different aspects. You have like your science character with the Hulk. You have your magic character. You have your royal character with Namor, and then you have
Yeah.
your cosmic with you. So it's like you have
Yeah.
like these little different corners.
Yeah.
It's not your Marvel's Cabal or Illuminati,
Yeah.
but it is yeah, it's definitely building up to that.
Yeah. Which I think is really cool.
Since we're on
Mhm.
this, did you see Black Adam?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thoughts?
You know what? I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a big action movie, and like
Okay.
I wasn't expecting much, but it was very like I don't know how other people reacted to this, but like for me it was very comic book movie where like you had to know who the JSA was. Like they didn't really explain it. They were just like they're just there.
Yeah.
And I'm a big JSA fan, so like I was like, oh, this is cool, it works, you know. But like I know if you went in there not knowing who they were, like what the hell is going on, you know?
I got to be careful, man, because I think that I tend to like have some ideas, and sometimes I'll let them slip out, but whatever.
Yeah,
There's yeah, my biggest gripe with the film was the JSA, like the way it
yeah,
just. I think that there should have been one more character added. It would have been awesome to have seen Hawk Girl or Hawk Woman.
yeah,
I think like certain character aspects, like or character relationships, could have been improved by the
mhm,
adding of that particular character. Right? I think the stakes would have been a little higher when it
yeah,
came to the JSA. But the film overall, yeah, it did not work for me.
mm,
Because of like from the narration in the beginning to the focus on like these civilians,
yeah,
it reminded me too much of like when it first started. It reminded me too much of the 2005 Fantastic Four film, where
okay,
it's like you're not starting with your main character, you're starting off with these side characters,
yeah,
and then it's just like you therefore introduce your heroes, your main
mhm,
character, whatever. But I do looking at it in a positive manner and in a different way. And there was an interpretation or someone's analysis of like, you know what? what Dwayne the Rock Johnson was trying to do with like this storyline, it's like it's essentially a modern day telling of like a Terminator story. Terminator,
Yeah.
right? With the kid, the mom, and
Mm-hmm. I felt that a lot. Yeah.
it's like, okay, all right, cool.
Mm.
If I look at it through that lens, all right, let me see how it works. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Intergang is a Superman villain group. It just there's so much. Just they threw the kitchen sink, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. Like they were just like, and the crazy thing was, I don't know if you read that, but like I guess they cut out like 7 minutes because it was too violent. I thought the movie was pretty violent. Like he was,
That's funny. That's
he was,
funny.
he was like disintegrating people. Like right?
Man, Warner Bros. That's interesting because Suicide Squad was pretty violent.
Yeah. Well, I think it was because they didn't want it to be an R-rated. I think they
Mm,
wanted to be PG-13 or whatever, to get more, the family
true.
base. You know? I think it was cool. I mean, I don't know. I remember because he's been cast as Black Adam for like a long time, and
Yeah,
I
it's
remember always thinking like, "That's a weird choice. They were gonna have a Black Adam movie, like, right?"
yeah, yeah.
you
But
know.
like the idea that I alluded to, right? Check this
Mhm.
out. Have you read? Have you read? Well, I'm sure you have, but House of X, Jonathan Hickman,
Yeah.
Jonathan Hickman's House of X.
Hmm.
So remember there were four timelines.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Remember
and you being a JSA fan, I think adding four timelines, like not House of X, Powers of X,
Oh,
Powers of X.
yeah.
So, like what is like there's like the like it's like you start in the present, you start at a certain time, you jump 10 years, you jump 100 years, and you jump 1,000 years, right?
Yeah.
Take that concept with the JSA, but go backwards. I
Yeah.
think it's a very interesting story.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would have been really cool. And like, I think, see, the problem with these movies now too is like when you add stuff like the JSA and Namor, like the movie going audience is gonna be like, well, wait, where were they when this was happening? Or like Namor, like where was he during the whole Thanos thing? Like he had to have noticed because like half his people would have been erased, right? And the JSA, where were they with this whole dark side thing or no, what was his name? Steppenwolf. I
Uh,
think that's.
Steppenwolf. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's funny because I always like when the Marvel movies started up like post Avengers, everyone would always ask like, okay, when they had like a solo Iron Man movie or like whatever, like why is he just called the Avengers? I mean, and I got that as a comic reader. I'm like, oh no, this is his story. So like like he doesn't have to call them all the time. But when you start retconning stuff like that, it's kind of like, oh wait a minute, this doesn't make sense.
I mean, no, I got the sense of that with Shang Chi, like uh, what was it like Shang Chi and the Eternals. I
Hmm.
think it's just like wow, like so Shang Chi's father's been around for this long, for like this,
Nobody knows.
yeah, and so it just. But that's kind of like the issue where you kind of come across with like this world building,
Yeah,
but nothing's perfect, and
yeah,
it's all entertainment, right? But
exactly.
but definitely, but we definitely notice.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's the thing too. Like like you said, like, you're doing the world building, and it's supposed to be like, man, it's a fun thing, but then you do it. It's so. I mean, the MCU is like what, like 15, 14, 15 years old now, and like it's gotten to a point where now people notice, like, well, you didn't talk about this, like you didn't.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting though where they'll go with some of these characters. We're not sure if Black Adam will get a sequel given its
Yeah,
box office. It's
yeah.
unfortunate that something like Black Adam did get made
Hmm.
because of the forces behind it, and then not shows, but a film like Batgirl, got canceled over at Warner Brothers. So it's like, hey, if you're willing to put out a bad film like this, why rob
Yeah.
why rob the audience of that particular project? But
Hmm.
it's all the powers that be, that
Yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's just two big companies that just running
yeah,
everything.
yeah, oh yeah, and that are only getting bigger,
Yeah.
bigger.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I see the point of people complaining about like Disney Plus and like all the Marvel stuff getting bigger, but I think it's cool to a point. Like, I mean, like we would never have gotten like a Hawkeye movie, but we get this TV show. And I feel like the TV show stuff, the Disney Plus stuff, is like it's where they get to experiment with a lot more. Because before that, I mean, like the most experimental thing they did was with, like Guardians. Like everything was very like cut and paste. Like very streamlined.
I think you're right. I think yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy did kind of like switch things up. And
Yeah,
then after that, I think once the Russo brothers came in, I
yeah.
think that you sense like another switch with
Oh yeah, I mean, like the Captain America trilogy is like my favorite trilogy in the MCU. Like those movies are so good, man.
yeah, the political thrillers. I mean, for me, like not a lot of, I guess, Captain America when that was Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
Apparently, sorry, apparently that wasn't beloved like let's say WandaVision, but
yeah.
I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier was like amazing.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
like it's so good too because I think we watched it like 3 or 4 times already, but like there's times where I'll just throw it on in the store and like not even notice, and it's like, oh, it's finished. Like like I'm just sitting there watching it.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Have you been watching? So I think that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is very political. So is
Mhm.
Andor. Have you watched Andor? Have you had a
You know,
chance to catch up
that's
on?
another catch up on. I've only seen the first three.
Okay.
I gotta, yeah, it's another one I got to sit down and watch.
Yeah, it's very very different. But I
Yeah.
think the showrunners behind it they really highlight of the main thing that I got from like the whole series, and I won't spoil anything,
Mhm.
but it's the personification of evil, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time, you see again like good versus bad, Jedi versus Sith. But what about like the regular everyday people?
Yeah.
Right? How how is it that evil is allowed to thrive in
Mm-hmm.
normal society? And I think they do a phenomenal job of highlighting that. And when kind of like compared to our modern day society, it's like, man,
Yeah.
it's scary. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets
So, but
hits
yeah,
a little home sometimes.
I'm sorry.
It hits a little close to home sometimes, right?
I mean, yeah, these last few years.
Yeah.
Um, but we're close to our mark.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're close to our mark. How anything else that you want to add? Any shout outs? Anything that we kind of missed or that you'd like to
Oh.
highlight?
So you said that we talked about earlier that the Kickstarter goes until this Saturday. I think it ends
That's
at 8 o'clock Pacific, and what's it called? We're actually gonna have a closeout event at the store. Where like me, Miguel, Acero, Balea, and Tavares will be here, and we're gonna try to have like we're gonna show some of the pledge rewards, and we're gonna try to just get those last couple hours in.
awesome.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and is it okay if I share the status of where you are right now to see where you
yeah,
are in the next few days? So, guys,
yeah.
Peter and team for the Gordo, the Teenage Flying Saucer Kickstarter, are currently at the 4,300 mark. 4,316. They need to hit them $5,000 mark to get this project up and going. So
Yeah.
if you guys are watching, you guys want to support a Latino comic creator who has like this intelligent story of this young, teenage superhero. Check them out. We'll share the link at the end of this video. And yeah, come out and support Peter if you're in the LA area on Saturday, right?
Yeah, Saturday at noon, we'll be here at the shop. So it's a
Yeah,
nostalgic comic shop. We're at 513 South Delmar Avenue in San Gabriel.
awesome. I'll also share the store's cause yeah, your store's social media page
Oh, cool.
and
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that's awesome, man. Peter, thank you so much for joining me today for being my special guest here in another special edition of Cuentos y Comics. So
Thank you for having me, man.
so much. I'll catch you on the other side.
There you go. Sounds good.
All right, everyone. That was another edition of Cuentos y Comics. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like the video and share. And I'll see you guys next time.